Hello there. Another video by me. I'm loving what's happening and all the feedback. So I don't know how long this will go on for, but I've got another video for the good old YouTube channel now. But also for the Facebook group, Fan Life on the Cheap. Loving that group, loving the interactions, loving the people out there. Really good community, so whoever's built the group, really like what you're doing. And keeping it real. And not commercializing it. So, on this story, I'm going to talk about laundry and how I started doing it. When I was living, there was a period of van life when I was living completely as much off the grid as possible. So I was trying to not use main systems as much as I can, to the point where the only things I was using was obviously my data for internet, in case I got to make calls, etc. What else was I on? Fuel for heating and running the van, and water from the petrol stations, and seeing how long I could last that for. Before you realise you still got bills to pay, and it's only a little bit of a detox for some time, but something that you can afford to do if you live in van life. I'd strongly recommend just doing a complete detox if you could, and you know, it's quite a good feeling. So I'm gonna so the video is about laundry. So I was trying to test out a new system of laundry, which was simply relying on the B&Q buckets. It comes back to those B&Q buckets. So I was basically, the B&Q buckets that I was using to practice driving when I started, the orange ones, if you've ever seen them on B&Q for like £1 or something like that. What I did was I created my own laundry system. So what I'd do is I'd use my, this was at the time when I was not very confident driving, so I'd drag my Wenger suitcase along about a 10-minute walk on a busy road to the petrol station. I'd have 4 or 5 litre, I'd have about 4 or 5 2-litre water bottles, standard ones you get off Lidl, and I'd fill them up. I was very patient, and I'd take some time, but I'd fill them up, and I'd take them back to the van. It was a strenuous journey, but where I was such a nervous driver, I can never imagine doing it now. But at the time, you know, that's one stage of van life, I suppose. You know, getting used to driving the van and trying to walk as much as I can, and before I get proper confident driving the van. So what I used to do is I used to get these 2 orange buckets, and I used to have 2 hobs. So I have a normal gas hob that the van is, but also a backup hob. But I just rather use the backup hob because I don't want to waste gas on laundry, if that makes sense. And I used to set it up. So I had 1 bucket and I had another bucket. I'd heat up my screw. I think it was a flathead. It must have been a flathead or a little screwdriver. So I used to use a flathead. Sorry, I just have a bad cough. And that heat, I used to then, because I didn't have a drill. Last time it was my mate's drill, so I wasn't using a drill for this one. I pierced holes in the bucket, and then I pierced holes in what was a like a plunger. So I bought that as well. And what I used to do is I used to heat up the water, and I used to fill it up, put a bit of detergent, and put my clothes in there. And the interesting thing was, it did actually work. So this is the first time I'd never used laundry. I was using my own homemade bucket system. The only caveat to that is there's certain clothes and there's certain stuff that I couldn't quite clean. That dirt wasn't rubbing off my socks. And so in the end, I didn't really give up on it, but I thought this is a lot of effort for what it's worth. And before long, I'd started a new job. It just wasn't time efficient. But all it was 2 buckets, plunger. And I used to spend about 10 minutes plunging it into hot water, getting it all soapy, and then I'd start again. I'd re-rinse it. I'd put some more water from my 2-litre water bottles and rinse it again. And it worked. If I have a picture of it, I can try and find one. But that was what I used. And yeah, that was how I did it for a few weeks before I returned to what every van lifer loves, the laundrette, the good old laundrette, full-time van lifers, of course. But I just gave it a go, and to be honest, if I did it again, I don't mind doing it again, but I'd have obviously a bigger water tank, or a lot of more water, and I'd boil the water a lot more. Maybe even use a kettle, something like that, or of a jackery, and just wash it. And the best thing is, once you've built it, it's the cheapest form of laundry you can do. The only caveat being I had to still dry it, so that was a nightmare in itself. I think I tried to hang the clothes, but there's not much space on the outside of the van. You don't want to put it inside for condensation and all that. But I'm sure in the summer it would be even more cheaper, I suppose, because you just hang it outside if it's a good day like this. So yeah, that's how I did laundry off the grid. So how I used 2 buckets and a plunger when I was leaving completely off grid. Now, of course, I use a laundrette. I'm entirely dependent on those. Just because of the volume of clothes, my work wear, and yeah, it's just not really efficient doing it and not using the laundry, for example. So yeah, that's like a little video. Hope you guys enjoy. I'll probably release it tomorrow. I want to give a bit of space so that people can enjoy the videos, and you know, it's not like a race or anything like that. I've got plenty more stories to tell about my life if people want to know, because as I said, I don't know many 20-odd-year-old van lifers who live the full-time lifestyle, who've kind of given up on the property market, and not in a bad way, but at least temporarily not really bothered with it, and thought, you know, I want to just live my life and don't want to be worrying about bills all the time. But you know, yeah. So on another note, just as a side note, if you've watched the video this long, I really appreciate you guys if you have. I was doing a little video when I was in the kitchen in my van, and I thought it wasn't really working out. It wasn't. You couldn't see me. It was dark. I'd prefer doing it like this at the moment, especially when I just rely on natural lighting. I was on that video. I wanted to talk to you guys about if this would be an interesting recommendation. I'm very methodical, so I've been noting down all my transactions that I've had over the past 12 months since moving into the van. So if people are actually interested in full-time and what it takes and what costs you incur, hit me up, and I'm going to try, if it's in demand. I'm not going to do it if there's not enough people who are interested in it, because it's quite yeah, it's just quite interesting, but I want to do it if there's enough people actually interested in this kind of stuff. Otherwise I'll just stick to my stories. But yeah, a little bit on van life finance and going through the numbers and stuff like that, so that when you're going in to full-time van life, you know what you expect, and you know what you're going to go and get yourself into as well. So I've got, you know, there's associated costs, shop costs, running costs, and we compare it to even I can compare it to my rent when I was living in rent. We can do some comparisons on that. But I don't know how many financial guys there are, mathematicians amongst you, if you like that kind of stuff. It's just something I'm interested in, to be honest. But yeah, it's just another video I did that came to me. So thanks for listening to my waffling. Enjoy the rest of your evening, or even the rest of your day, whichever time you listen from. And see you later, guys. Take care.